So Tesla may continue to be the leader in the electric car space. However, over the next 5 years, we're going to start seeing a huge influx of new EVs coming from all different manufacturers. I'm here just outside of San Francisco, California with Hyundai, taking a look at the all-new 2022 Hyundai Ioniq 5. This is the company's first ever fully dedicated battery electric vehicle. It offers up to 300 miles of range. It's built off of its own unique electric car platform. And since this is my first time seeing this car in person, I thought let's finally show you guys what it's like on the outside, what it's like on the inside, and give you my full first impressions. So I'm going to talk about the interior in just a moment, but because it's a fully battery electric vehicle, a lot of you are probably wondering, what is it like underneath the frunk or the hood? Because there's supposed to be a frunk in here. This is how you do a battery electric vehicle right, and that's something that Volkswagen sadly doesn't do, and Nissan doesn't do with the Aria either. And when you open up the hood of the Ioniq 5, you can see some electric motor componentry in here, but underneath this little cover, there is a small frunk. Now, I know it's not quite as nice as the one you get in some Teslas or the Mustang Mach-E, but at least it does give you a little bit of covered storage space here, although it doesn't have anything like, a drain plug, something like that where you could use this as a cooler, but at least Hyundai did give you a little bit of frunk. Now let's talk about the powertrain specs since we're underneath the hood here. This vehicle will launch with two different battery sizes. The larger battery size is a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack that's going to offer up to 300 miles of driving range. You can take your pick between either a single motor rear wheel drive, that's right, this vehicle is rear wheel drive, or a dual motor all wheel drive system. The single motor rear drive will have around 225 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. That's the one that should get with the extended range battery up to 300 miles of range. For those of you who want more power, the dual motor setup will add an extra motor at the front to give you a combined output of 320 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque. Hyundai says that's the model that should get to 60 in right around the 5-second range, which is pretty impressive performance. Obviously not as fast as something like the Kia EV6 with GT, which has over 500 horsepower in the fully spec'd out version, but perhaps Hyundai will do an N-line version of this car. Now, of course, the big news with the Ioniq 5 is it offers either a 400 or 800 volt charging system, which basically allows you to DC fast charge this vehicle from 10 to 80% in roughly 18 minutes. So that's a lot faster than a lot of other vehicles in the segment. And Hyundai is offering their vehicle to load feature where you could use this car almost as like a portable generator to power electronics, to power your home in case the power goes out. So in case you guys are wondering, how does the vehicle to load function work? Well, Hyundai gives you this little accessory here. All you have to do is just open up the charge port. This charge port door is actually power. You can also open it up through the BlueLink app. Just plug this in right here, and then you want to squeeze this area here and fold this down. You can see there's just a standard household plug where you could plug something in like your laptop, or in this case, I'm going to actually do a phone charger here. Just plug that in, grab your phone, and all you have to do is just plug it in. And when the vehicle is on, it'll actually start charging your phone. So that is a really cool feature, and I think that a lot of other manufacturers need to consider adding something like this because it's going to be very useful, especially when you have a full EV like this. Now, closing the hood, let's talk about the styling of this vehicle because Hyundai has been on a roll lately with their styling of their newest products, and you can see they took a lot of inspiration here from the original Hyundai Pony. That was the first vehicle that they actually manufactured back in the early 1980s. You can see it's got a very interesting retro modern design cue here, and I really like the styling. Actually, I might prefer this over the Kia EV6, so let me know in the comments below which styling you prefer. You can see the grille has almost like that parametric jewel shape, but it's completely flat surface here. It's actually reflective. It makes it almost look like this area here is missing from afar. That's what my editor thought he saw when he saw this car from back here. You can see the headlights have these really interesting square pixels. These are full LED headlights with LED daytime running lights and turn signals. The front end obviously doesn't need to have an opening because this is a fully battery electric vehicle. It does have some active grille shutters here. Aerodynamics is always going to be a big key factor with an electric vehicle. Now, looking at this particular trim, this is the limited grade. Hyundai will offer it in SE, SEL, and limited grade with either a single motor or dual motor configuration. And trying to classify the Ioniq 5 is interesting because Hyundai wants to call this a CUV, a crossover type vehicle. However, looking at it in person, just like the Kia EV6, it looks more like a hot hatch, although this one is clearly more of a traditional hatchback in its shape because it's very square. You have that parametric jewel design themes here with a lot of those intersecting angles, that interesting, rocker panel over there, which has these geometric shapes. Same thing with the wheels. The wheels also have a 20-inch design. They have this really interesting spoke design, which looks cool from afar. It fills out the wheel wells nicely. This particular one here has the 20s. 19s are going to be standard. They're riding on 255, 45 series all-season tires. It really makes this vehicle look really stand outish. Compared to a lot of the competitors, I really like this overall shape. It's got a traditional boxier shape. Now, of course, it's an electric vehicle, so in terms of the dimensions, it is a lot longer, and the battery pack lives on the floor because it's kind of like a skateboard platform. Its wheelbase is pretty interesting. At 118 inches long, the wheelbase on this vehicle is around 4 inches longer versus the Palisade. But at an overall length of 182 inches long, it's actually a pretty small vehicle. It's around 14 inches shorter than the Palisade, and actually a little bit smaller than the Ford Mustang Mach-E. That's another vehicle you could compare the Ioniq 5 to, but obviously it doesn't sit up high like a traditional SUV, and it doesn't have the ground clearance that you expect from a traditional SUV. So this is not something you're going to be taking off-road, but it does give you more space on the inside. Now, of course, right here, this model also has a really massive panoramic sunroof. It does not actually open, so it's just a fixed panoramic glass roof. It does also have a power retractable shade. I'll show you that when we get into the interior, but overall, let me know what you think of the styling. I love the way this car looks in person. I'm really hoping that Hyundai eventually does an N version of this vehicle that has the Kia EV6 GT's performance figures. Now, looking at the back, you can see the taillights have almost like a fully digital look with the full LEDs back here. You can see it's almost got this clear panel here where it spells out Ioniq 5 in the back. You also have some interesting shapes here in the lower portion of the bumper. And in terms of the cargo area, Hyundai's actually already told us what the space is like back here. If you open it up, it's a power liftgate, which is nice. You get around 28 cubic feet of space with the second row seats up. There's no third row available. If you fold down the second row, which also gives you the ability to recline, and you can slide these second row seats up to 5.3 inches forward and back, which is pretty cool. You get a maximum of just under 60 cubic feet, which is a pretty good amount of space considering the size of this vehicle on the outside. So obviously on the outside, the Ioniq 5 looks really cool, but what about the interior? Hyundai actually spent a lot of time making this interior feel a lot more spacious than its main competitors like the Mach-E and the Volkswagen ID.4. Now, as you can see, looking at the interior at a glance, it definitely looks a lot different versus any other Hyundai product that I've seen. First of all, the floor right here is completely flat, which is interesting. I haven't seen a design like this in a long time. And because it's flat, Hyundai allows you to move the center console all the way back or forward like this, which creates a lot of open space back here. That's really going to be appealing for those of you who want to put like a purse over here or a little bit of a bag. When I shut the door over here, you can see the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, and you're greeted by these two massive 12-inch LCDs. You can see it's a 12.3-inch display here, a 12.3-inch display here. You also have the Hyundai traditional key fob here. It has the ability to move the vehicle forward and back with the remote parking, and you also can use the Hyundai digital key where you can use your phone as a key, and that's something that a lot of younger consumers are going to like. The button to fire up all the electronics is right here on the dash. And you can see when you turn everything on, the gauge display is definitely unique. Obviously, you don't have any use for a tachometer. You have a massive 12.3-inch display here that's part of the Hyundai BlueLink Telematic. And the steering wheel is interesting because it doesn't have any kind of logo here. Now, I have seen in some of the press releases that this actually does light up and say Ioniq 5, but I don't see that here. It's just completely blank. I'm not entirely sure if they did this intentionally, but it definitely gives you a clean, modern design. Now, looking at the rest of the materials, you can see this is a soft touch injection molded plastic. There's kind of like this floating style center console or this little armrest cover here, which is nice and padded. Window controls are kind of lined in this like aluminum look with the actual buttons. There's an aluminum look door handle here, which is nice. The upper door panels here you can see, or the upper dash material is a soft touch plastic with some faux stitching. It's also kind of padded over here. This is the augmented reality heads up display, which Hyundai says is a really cool feature where it can kind of project information that makes it look like it's like 4 feet in front of you. That kind of gives you a nice 3D look. The steering wheel over here you can see is tilt and telescoping, and it offers a really good amount of adjustability. In fact, these front seats actually kind of will recline into a lounge mode. If you push the right button here, the seats will actually recline and do like a lounge mode, which kind of is good if you guys are sitting at a charger. You can kind of almost take a nap while you wait for your vehicle to charge. So this vehicle already charges very, very quickly, but in case you guys are wondering, what am I supposed to do while I wait for this vehicle to charge at a DC fast charger? Well, Hyundai's thought of that. You can essentially just take a nap. The driver's seat allows you to do this little recline feature. You can recline this down right here, which goes down a pretty far degree. And there's a little ottoman over here you can see that comes out pretty far out, actually. That's the farthest it comes out. As I push the seat back here and lean this back, you can see, oh yeah. And you can essentially just take a nap back here. This is very similar to the new F-150, which offers that lounge mode. But yeah, wake me up when the video's done. Let's look at the instrument panel here, because if I change this drive mode selector, just push this button, you can see it changes the look of this thing where it kind of shows you a little bit like a power and a charge meter there. It shows you where your torque is going. There's also a snow, eco, a normal mode. Obviously, I can't drive the vehicle today. Hyundai says there'll be a program where I could drive this car at a later date. It goes on sale later this fall. This right here is their BlueLink telematic system, which it's pretty familiar, but it has been updated. There's obviously a dedicated EV function. That's a really cool graphic. This should be able to show you how long to charge, where to charge. If you use the embedded GPS, it'll tell you where to stop for charging when you take it on longer trips. Everything in here is very quick, it's very snappy, it's really easy to use. The GPS display, you can see this is the standard Hyundai unit, but it's been beefed up. It's very quick responding. So I have very little complaints with this infotainment system, and it looks very modern. It's really easy to use. And down here you have traditional hard buttons for your volume knob, your tuning toggle. You've got dual zone climate control as well, which is pretty nice. You also can access the heated and ventilated seats, which is also a good addition. You can't find that feature in some Tesla models. There's also your heated steering wheel, which is great. You can see using the ventilated seat option there. You can't even get that in a Tesla Model 3 or a Model Y. So love the fact that Hyundai is offering that. A lot of tech in this vehicle. I honestly need a little bit more time to show you guys everything, but I love what I'm seeing initially here, especially with this center console. Now, speaking of the center console, if I lift this up, you can see massive amounts of storage, wireless phone charging. You have 2 USB ports over here, 2 cup holders, and there's also a little bit of covered storage. If you guys open this up, you can see you can put some stuff in there, although there's no any power outlets over here. It's all down here. But the covered storage isn't quite as big as what you might find in some competitors, especially this little area here. It's kind of on the small side. The seats are pretty comfortable and supportive. I think they look pretty traditional, but I like the contrasting piping. Now, speaking of which, some of the materials in here, you can see beautiful ambient lighting. A lot of these interior materials are made from recycled materials, so recycled bottled plastic and whatnot. It's all going with the eco-friendly theme. I think Hyundai has done a great job. It definitely feels a lot more spacious in here versus the Kia EV6. The Kia had a lower roofline, which definitely made it feel a little bit more cramped. This has a little bit of a higher roofline. Now, up here you can see beautiful LED lighting. There's this massive panoramic glass roof that doesn't open, but you can see there's this big shade that kind of closes if you guys don't want to have the sun beating down on you. The headliner material also is pretty nice. The build quality in this vehicle is really high. I mean, this is a really early pre-production model, but I have to say, I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing, and I think I actually prefer this interior, again, over the EV6. I would have to drive the two back to back to really know for sure. Now, because the Ioniq 5 has a very long wheelbase, you actually get a crap ton of space here in the second row. And the beauty about the second row is, like I said earlier, you can slide these seats forward and back up to 5.3 inches. So this is with the seats all the way up. This is with the seat all the way back. And when you get back here, I don't have final legroom figures yet, but as you can see here, the floor is completely flat, so you can easily fit 3 people across. The seat back here also reclines. It reclines a good amount, so you can actually get comfortable back here. Kind of like the driver's seat, how it reclines back. You can take a nap back here. This is a really good amount of space, and it feels more roomy than the Kia EV6. Again, there's also these unexpected touches like manual rear seat sunshades. You have 2 USB charging ports here, and you also have rear seat air vents located on the B pillar here. The one thing I'm noticing that is missing, there are no heated seats back here, which is fine. I could probably forgive them for that. But there is a nice armrest here that folds down to give you 2 cup holders. So obviously, it's not a crossover in terms of the height, but it does give you a lot of space on the inside, typical to a lot of compact crossovers. So as Hyundai's first ever dedicated, fully battery electric vehicle, I'm actually really impressed by looking at this car, spending some time in the interior, Hyundai showing me the tech. It's a really modern, sleek looking car that I think it's going to get a lot of attention on the road. Yes, Hyundai likes to call this thing a crossover vehicle, but what it is it's essentially a hot hatch that's just a lot more spacious on the inside, because as you guys saw, the interior is roomy. One of the most roomiest cabins that I've seen, one of the biggest back seats. It's got a lot of cool design themes here, and I even like the way that Hyundai has integrated the charge port. It's back here. It's got a power door, which you can open and close through the Hyundai app. You can see there's the flap for the DC fast charging, and then when you're done, you just push this button right here and the door closes. So again, they took that kind of from Tesla. That's where they integrated it in their vehicles, but it's a really clean design theme. I also love the pixel design theme here. You can see with the full LED taillights along the side panel. It's a really, really sleek car that I think a lot of people are going to be really interested in when it goes on sale. Speaking of which, Hyundai has announced that it will be going on sale later this fall. You can actually go to their website, you can put a $100 reservation down to get this vehicle. However, they haven't announced final pricing yet. I'm going to estimate this car is going to start at around $40,000, maybe go up to around the mid $50,000 for this model here, which is the limited version. Hyundai obviously hasn't announced full pricing yet. They will plan to do that soon as we get closer to the on sale date. I'll also be able to drive this vehicle as we get later on into the year. But honestly, if you guys are looking for a fully electric car and you don't want something like a Tesla, The Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5 need to make it to the very top of your list because this is a car that really shows that Hyundai understands the market. They're trying to design a vehicle that's going to really show consumers that electric is the future, and this car definitely is going to be at the forefront. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my first look overview on the 2022 Hyundai Ioniq 5. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.